or a good even couple days this Monday or Sunday, Monday, Tuesday kind of thing. But anyways, I hope you guys have done a lot of things, been productive. I know I have. Yesterday I went and lifted. This morning oh Jesus, sore as shit. Don't take a couple months off because I'm telling you, ooh, no, like you don't feel it right away until you wake up the next day, and usually it's the second day, like 2 days after you lifted, that it really really hurts. Like, well, for me anyways, it's the legs that do that. But you know, other than that, we're gonna kind of get things started today. We got a whole list of things that we're gonna get going through, and first off, I want to kind of start with. I want to kind of give you guys the opportunity to buy merch. By merch, I mean like sweatshirts, t-shirts, sweatpants, stuff like that. And I'm going to be putting out a poll, obviously, on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter to see if you guys are actually interested in that. And if you are, I will go forward with that and make one of those, or make a merchandise website for you guys to go and purchase stuff for. So, with that being said, are you ready to get your fix? Well, we're going to get started with the Arizona Cardinals, because let me tell you, this offseason and even after the draft, I kind of was thinking to myself, like, wow, okay, these guys are loading up. They're ready to make a Super Bowl run. At least that's what it's kind of looking like, in my eyes, at least. They did a couple trades. They traded for Rodney Hudson, where they sent a third-round pick. And they signed him to a 3-year deal, $30 million, with 16 of that guaranteed. So they've been doing some work. Okay, they got their offensive linemen. They got a lot of them. They're making sure, hey, we need depth just in case an important asset goes down. Like let's say Rodney Hudson goes down. Well, they got 5-6 other guys that could be able to step in that position. We all know, at least for me, I think the offensive lineman, as important as it is, I also think it is the easiest position on the football field to transition, because you're pretty much doing the same thing, just different ways on the offensive line. Okay, whether that's blocking one way, going to the other, or simple stuff like that. I'm not an offensive lineman, never was, so I don't really know, but I do know that a lot of offensive linemen can make that switch and can make it fast and efficiently. So center might be a little harder snapping the ball, but that's where you get with your quarterback, snap the ball, get used to it, and that works itself out. So along with those offensive linemen that I mentioned, they got Max Garcia, Brian Winters, and Matt Gano. I don't know who those guys are, but that, like I said, adds depth, gives them the opportunity, to be safe from injuries, like I said earlier. So that in all really helps the Cardinals. Now, another thing, last year they traded David Johnson. Okay, they got DeAndre Hopkins for him. I don't think Texans won that trade. I don't think I'm the only one that believes that. Pretty sure everybody believes that, unless you're stuck in your own mind for some reason. But for them to do that right then and there, you can kind of see they're trying to take that next step. They go draft Kyler Murray. Okay, he has 1 year. They're doing it all right. Chandler Jones has another amazing year, 15.5 sacks or 14, something like that, crazy. Okay, and then bam, last year, DeAndre Hopkins comes in. They're making moves. They realize David Johnson's coming off that ACL injury. How is he going to perform? We don't know. We know what Hopkins can do. Let's go get him. They snagged him. Okay, so they got that. And now they go out and they're like, let's take that final step. And it might not be the final step, just because, it's hard to win a Super Bowl, let alone even get there in the NFL. So, but they're like, let's take another step. Let's try to improve our team just a little bit more. So you know what they do? They go out and they sign this defensive end, J.J. Watt. They snagged yet another superstar from the Texans organization. Okay, first DeAndre, and now J.J. I think it's safe to say that Texans organization, there's something wrong. Okay, whether that's GM, ownership. I know when Bill O'Brien was the head coach / GM, a lot of people butted heads. Okay, I'm pretty sure that the stories that were coming out about DeAndre Hopkins leaving is that because him and Bill O'Brien didn't see eye to eye. Now, I don't care who you are. I don't care how stuck up you are in your own mind, how professional and how much better you think you are. You do not get rid of a top 3, if not the best wide receiver in the NFL. You don't. Right then and there, as soon as you got rid of him, you should have known your whole team is not going to want to play there anymore because you don't have anything. You're going from, kind of consistently getting into the playoffs or at least one game out of the playoffs to kind of like looking like the Jets. They might perform really poorly, but now the thing is that Deshaun Watson, obviously if he stays there and plays, they're going to win some games because of him. Not just because they're with him, but because of him, because that's what he does. That's what he performs that way to where he's going to get you wins because he has that dog mentality in him. But back to the Cardinals now. They signed J.J. Watt. Okay, they signed him 2 years, $31 million. Absolutely awesome. Awesome move by the Cardinals. Didn't think they had the money or the firepower to do so. But now they add J.J. Watt to Chandler Jones, and I'm pretty sure if I remember right, there was a statistic that went out, and within the last 5 years or 5 to 10 years or whatever, they said the two highest, or how am I going to word this? The two players that have the most sacks in those years are Chandler Jones and J.J. Watt. Okay? And if I'm wrong, I'm pretty sure I know they were in the top 5, at least those lists, both of them were. So you're getting really, really good production on these guys. You're going to be able to put pressure on a Russell Wilson or that Matthew Stafford, or now you got Trey Lance, who's a scrambler in San Fran. But who knows? Jimmy might take that job. I don't think he will. I think Jimmy is going to end up being traded at some point, whether that's soon or in the near future. I don't know, but that's what I'm thinking. But anyways, you knew J.J. Watt wanted out of Houston after he came out in that press conference last year, saying he wishes he could do more for the fans, and if they weren't performing well, and he was sorry. He was devastated that he couldn't give the fans of Houston a chance to be happy or enjoy football, because we've seen how bad Houston was performing, and there's fans that are starting to get away from that, not wanting to perform with them or play with them, let alone or not play with them. Jesus Christ, what am I doing? Or watch them, sorry. So that was a big reason, and I know J.J. Watt sincerely would have loved to continue playing there had things gone different, but that's just not the situation that we've seen and how it was handled. But J.J. Watt, he's coming off of the last year with 68 tackles, 5 sacks, and an interception. I think that's the one thing we noticed about J.J. Watt. He's always around the ball, okay? At least in the offense, or at least in the line part. He always tries to get one hand on the ball to either swat it or, pick it off or jump at the line and tip it away, so it's an incomplete pass. But he's been doing this a lot, okay? He has a Hall of Fame type career. He has 101 total sacks in his career up to this point. So I think it was like 12 or 13 years he's played now. I can't remember off the top of my head, but this guy has done it. This guy knows what to do, and this is a great signing by the Arizona Cardinals to add to, that defense. Because that defense, Budda Baker, who switched his number, by the way, to number 3. I believe he was number 33 or 32. Yeah, 32, and he switched to number 3. But we'll talk about that maybe tomorrow. We'll get into the number situation a little bit. But, they got a stacked safety, or they got a stacked defensive line, okay? Or defense. Can't speak. Again, day 2. What the hell? I'm just kidding. But, other than J.J. Watt signing, they went and they signed a kicker, okay? Now, did they need a kicker? I'm pretty sure they did, because I think whoever they had last year ended up leaving. But Matt Prater, okay? They signed Matt Prater, one of the best, probably a top 3 to 5 kicker right now in the NFL. And he's super consistent, okay? Like I said, we're going to go back to yesterday when I said, I don't know too much about kickers, but what I've seen from Matt Prater throughout the years is really consistency. Okay, this guy holds the record for the longest field goal in NFL history. This guy goes out there with no care in the world and kicks the ball right through the uprights and does it week in and week out. Okay, we've seen him give the Lions a lot of chance to be in ball games. Okay, this guy has hit 83.2% of his field goals in his career. That is very good. If I'm right, I think he's had like a 10, 12-year career, but to do that consistently is awesome. That puts him right up there with Justin Tucker, who I think, in my eye, is the best kicker that's currently in the NFL. Probably the greatest kicker ever for me, though, would be Adam Vinatieri, because that dude just couldn't miss. Okay, and then there's a couple other signings. Like Cardinals, they went all in. Okay, they got Malcolm Butler, and a lot of other defensive backs to add to that because Patrick Peterson ended up leaving. That helps a lot with that departure. Okay, but another big signing. Okay, is last year we seen that they had Kenyon Drake and Chase Edmonds. Well, Kenyon Drake ended up leaving, went to the Raiders. We'll talk about the Raiders here in a little bit, but he went there. Okay, now the running back situation's a little odd. You don't know what you're gonna do. Are you gonna go draft one? Or are you gonna have a high enough pick to get a good one? What's gonna happen? Well, they go out. They sign James Conner to a 1-year deal. Now we all know what James Conner was capable of in Pittsburgh. He did decrease in production last year, but for the most part, I think he's a good runner. Okay, he's a strong uphill runner. He's gonna run through you. And the adversity he's had to fight through, it's awesome. Okay, this guy, beat cancer and is out there doing all this stuff, and the Cardinals really got a good one. Okay, now this might not be a great situation, but expect it to be good at least. Okay, you're gonna get a good, 800 to 1,000 yards at least, depending on how much they use. I think they still have Chase Edmonds, not 100%. I forgot to look that up, but the production's gonna be there. Okay, and with James Conner now, you might have to maybe what I'm thinking is that they took James Conner, okay, because they knew that there was a chance that they're probably not going to get a running back in the draft, and they wanted that security blanket to make sure that they had one here and now, so that next year if they need to, they can possibly get another guy, okay. But there's plenty of running backs, undrafted free agents, all these kids, okay, they're all out there. There's plenty of them. So if it doesn't work, obviously they can find that piece, trade him, whatever. But for right now, I think this is a good signing. This is a really, really good signing. It gives, like I said, it gives Arizona a lot more leeway to do things. And he's going to more than likely start, obviously with the departure of Kenyon Drake, because Kenyon Drake was that starter. But Chase Edmonds could easily take that if he's still on the team. Don't remember 100%. That's on me. Whatever. It is what it is. Don't really care. But, and then the Cardinals, they go out and they draft a bunch of studs. Xavier Collins, who's a linebacker, absolute beast, 6'5", 259. Rondell Moore, we talked about him yesterday, awesome guy. Marco Wilso, and then a couple other guys that I really don't know. But they went out, they did their homework, and they got the guys they wanted. And I think they're going to have an acceptable season, an exceptional season. Now, whatever happens there in, with the Rams situation with Matthew Stafford and, Russell Wilson over in Seattle and all that, and Trey Lance, and we'll see kind of how that season plays out, or this season plays out for the Cardinals. But I can tell you right now, expect them to be in the playoffs, at least in the playoff picture, in the playoff talk. But I do see this team either winning their division or getting second, even though it is the hardest division in the NFL. I do see this team as, like last year. Last year I said they were an underdog. Okay, a lot of people didn't think they were going to do much, and look what they did. Okay, they made some noise. They didn't make the playoffs, but they were able to do something. Okay, they did make the playoffs, didn't they? No, the Bears. Well, whatever. But still, they're there. Okay, and they're going to be a good team this upcoming year. So, kind of branching off the Cardinals offseason, we're going to go kind of talk about the Patriots offseason as well, because their offseason was probably the most electrifying offseason I've ever seen. Okay, I've never known the Patriots to do something like this. Okay, they go out and they're literally plucking people. They're like, fuck it, I want him, give me him, I want him. Oh, bring him here. They did that the whole offseason, got everybody they wanted and more. Okay, Bill has never been known for this, and I'm pretty sure, obviously, it's money reason. They had a shit ton of money this year, and they used it to the best of their ability. Okay, now this is also, I had a feeling, like I just said, Bill probably knew this was gonna happen. No money last year, and then all of a sudden, bam, he knew he was gonna have money, and that's why they went out and they made these moves. Now they signed, Kendrick Bourne to 3 years, wide receiver. They signed another wide receiver, and Nelson Aguilar, who 2 years ago in Philadelphia looked like. He couldn't catch a cold if you put him in a vacuum sealed room with a bunch of flu bugs running around, or whatever the hell you want to call it. But he literally couldn't catch nothing at all. And then last year he goes out and has a breakout year, becomes the Raiders' #1 receiver, and guess what? Bill is like, hey, Bill comes in knocking, and he's going to sign you. And that's what happens. They sign Nelson Aguilar. Because N'Keal Harry, sorry, that's a bust in my eyes. Awful. He could be doing way better, and I hope he does this year. But especially with Julian Edelman leaving, they need these wide receivers, these guys that can go out there and have that depth and perform. They also signed a defensive lineman in Henry Anderson for 2 years. Then they went and somehow plucked Trent Brown, offensive tackle, from the Raiders. I don't know how they did that, but they did it. And they really needed that help because, if I'm correct, Joe Thuney ended up leaving. They needed to fill that void, and that's what they did. They went out and they got their guy, okay? So, and then another big signing was Jalen Mills. They went out and got a defensive back. That's what Bill Belichick is known to do. Go get defensive backs, especially with the uncertainty of Stephon Gilmore's future. What's going to happen with that? I have no idea. I hope he stays with a Patriot. I really haven't seen too much on that. I really hope that is where he is, because right now I think in the game he's probably the best man-to-man corner. Granted, last year wasn't the greatest for him, but, it happens. You're going to have an off year, you're going to have a good year, but I think he's been mostly consistent for the most part. So, and then another thing, when Tom was there, they didn't have any weapons, okay? So they added these wide receivers, Kendrick Bourne, Nelson Aguilar. Well, they also go out and add tight ends, Hunter Henry and Jonnu Smith. Now, this brings a lot of opportunities, okay? I think Bill Belichick wanted this to happen mainly because, if you guys remember back when the Patriots had Rob Gronkowski and Aaron Hernandez, they used to split them out wide, 2 tight end sets. You could do a lot of damage, punch up the gut with the running back, have extra blocker, or you could have 2 devastating, how do you want to say it? Devastating receivers that can catch the ball at a high rate and be very consistent and score a lot of touchdowns. And I think that's what he's going to get with Hunter Henry, like we seen when he was with the Chargers, and Jonnu Smith, like last year when he was with the Titans and had his breakout year. So those signings were awesome. Okay, that completely understandable. They had the money, they did it. Then also they go out and they get these linebackers. Okay, Matt Judon, Raekwon McMillan, and then Kyle Van Noy, who Kyle Van Noy has actually played for New England before. Actually went to Dolphins for a little bit, but now he's back. Okay, knows the system, knows how Bill rolls, and he can be that veteran in that linebacker room. Okay, another couple people they signed is they re-signed their center, probably the best center in the NFL, at least in my eyes, David Andrews. Now, I know I am a Patriot fan as well, but I do not see myself as biased towards him as much as I would be the Minnesota Vikings. But on this show, I'm not going to be biased to really anybody as much as I can be. But like I said, I don't really care. It's my show. It's my say, my go, kind of stuff like that. But, they go get the kicker, Nick Folk, or they re-signed him. They re-signed James White, who's been there for a while, actually very, very loved by Bill Belichick. He's a dog. He goes in there, puts in the work, and they also re-signed Lawrence Guy, another defensive lineman. So they went out there, they made these moves, and made sure that they were set for the next years, or for the next 2 to 5 years to come. Okay, and then last year, J.C. Jackson had a wonderful year. Okay, breakout season. He was the Stephon Gilmore last year of 2 years ago. Okay, this guy went out there and did his job. Passed deflections up the yin-yang, picked a couple balls off, did what he had to do to be ready. And J.C. Jackson really impressed a lot of people, and he impressed Bill Belichick and Robert Kraft enough to actually get signed. Okay, so that was a big thing. Last year, with their struggles New England had, going 7-9, they knew going into the season they had to do something. And they had to keep the guys around that were going to help them succeed, not the guys who were going to push them back and make them worse. So they're going to go out and they're getting their guys. They also re-signed Cam Newton, who we seen last year do just fine. Granted, he had more rushing touchdowns than passing, but that is his game. But I think with these additions of those wide receivers and those tight ends, Cam Scam is gonna be I think really, really solid, and hopefully can get a contract by the end of the year, because I think he signed another 1-year deal with them. But He's going to give the Patriots a lot of upside, especially with those weapons that he now has present. Now, with Julian Edelman leaving, being the GOAT at that wide receiver position for a long time, helping Brady win a couple rings, I don't think that's going to be as devastating as we think. Because, the last couple years he's been riddled with injuries, really hasn't played much. So I think with that, I think he did the right thing and retired. So now another thing to note with the Patriots, they had a really, I'd say, solid draft. Okay, right away they go out and they get their quarterback. Okay, Mac Jones. Did not see Mac Jones going here at all. I thought he was actually going to end up either with the Niners or, even the Jets was a possibility. But he ended up going to New England, which is awesome. Okay, a lot of jokes were going out, and they put the picture of Mac Jones and Tom Brady together at the combine or whatever after Mac Jones won this championship and after Tom ran the combine or whatever. And it's kind of funny. They both look similar, and maybe that's the Patriots thing. Go out and get those pocket passers that are going to sling the thing and be a team leader because, hey, it worked for 20 years. Who says it can't still work now? Even though the game is going to a mobile quarterback game, I still think there is a lot of room for pocket passers, especially if you are like a Tom Brady, especially if you can do stuff like that. You're going to be just fine, okay? And then they also boosted their defensive line, getting Christian Barmore from Alabama, and then Ronnie Perkins from Oklahoma. They did an okay job. Okay, after that first 2-3 picks, it was kind of hit and miss, kind of getting those guys that just add depth or to see, hey, do these guys have a chance of making either practice squad or making the team, or can these guys give us some good looks? And they did an exceptional job, at least in my eyes, getting those guys, getting the right people to put in place. I think the New England Patriots are going to have a good year, not a great year, obviously, being 7-9. Now, there is 17 games this season, so nobody can go 800 or 800, Jesus, 500, like 8-8 record. But I think New England has a chance of being over 500 this year, and if they're not, changes need to be made. And I think Bill is smart enough to make those changes before it happens. Like if Cam Newton starts, performing pretty crappy, he probably will put Mac Jones in to see what he has. And really the battle for backup, to me, is Mac Jones and Jarrett Stidham. I think Cam Newton's still going to be that starter, but who knows? You really don't know in this league, especially with Bill Belichick, who is a mastermind, probably the greatest coach of all time. But we'll see what happens with that this year, because I think if they continue to do what they have done this offseason and they continue to have this money and that success in the offseason, this dynasty that could be again. I'm not saying it will be, and I'm not saying it is at all, because it's not. It's gone. Right as of right now, it's gone. But they very well could be on their way back to another dynasty. I don't know how long Bill Belichick plans on coaching, whether he coaches until he literally croaks on the field. I don't care. That's my guy. That's Bill Belichick. That's the GOAT. Who knows? But I think the Patriots are in, like I said, really, really good hands going forward. Now it's up to them to do that and to prove to us that they actually have that go get 'em attitude. So kind of enough on the free agency. We'll get back to free agency here after this little part, but we're going to talk about the offseason, like the first big thing that happened in the offseason. We were all waiting patiently, at least me, who and what the hell was going to happen in free agency. Like, who was going to go first? Where were they going to go? What the hell was going to happen? And time goes on. You're waiting, you're getting anxious, and all of a sudden, bam. You're like, what the fuck? Matthew Stafford, okay? Detroit Lions quarterback, long time. Been there since he was drafted. Gets traded to the Los Angeles Rams, okay? The Rams ended up trading a first-round pick in the 2022 and a first-round pick in the 2023 draft, as well as a third-round pick in this year's 2021 draft, okay? And they also sent the Lions Jared Goff. Makes sense. Trade a quarterback, get a quarterback. And all the Rams got in return was Matthew Stafford. Who won this trade? We're going to find out this year. But as of right now, the Rams. as much as they had to get rid of for just of how good a player Matthew Stafford is, the Rams definitely won this. You were really unsure last year how consistent Jared Goff could be, because he wasn't. He was not performing like he did 2 years ago or that year he went to the Super Bowl. Was not at all. He looked bad, and I think that's why they had to send so much to the Lions to get Matthew Stafford, because they realized that Matthew Stafford is a way better quarterback. Now, I absolutely love this trade because it gives Matthew Stafford a chance to be healthy for once. I don't think this dude has ever played 100% healthy. Being in the NFC North, he took more hits than you could even count. This guy got sacked on average of 25 to 40 times a season. Now, I'm saying 25 was probably the lowest amount he was sacked, but 40 times. There was a couple times it was over 40 times he was sacked. Now, that's not counting quarterback hits and all of that stuff. No. 40 times this guy was just mauled by defenders. Going to the Rams, he has a chance and he has that protection to not get sacked that much, because Jared Goff for the Rams only got sacked on average about 20 to 30 times. So significantly less. 10 more times of not getting sacked, 10 more times of not getting blown up by a guy who's 300 pounds standing at like 6'5", 6'6". I'd take that any day of the week, and that is perfect for Matthew Stafford. I mean, absolutely incredible for Matthew Stafford. You couldn't ask for a better situation now. The 49ers ended up reaching out too as well to get Matthew Stafford, because Matthew Stafford is, I believe, from, I want to say California. Not 100% sure. But, no. Well, whatever. But they both reached out to him. They both needed a quarterback. They both wanted him. And he ended up going to the Rams. I think this is awesome. The Rams rebranded last year with new jerseys. And I thought they were pretty cool. I liked them a lot. I wish, they probably could have incorporated maybe a yellow jersey with those yellow pants. But I'm not, a uniform designer. I could be. No, it'd take a little bit, take a lot of time in the office getting those. You'd see a lot of crazy, no, probably not crazy, probably simple, laid back, throwing around, kind of cool stuff around. But this is what the Rams needed. They needed a reboot. Okay, they got Todd Gurley. He ended up being a dud. Then they got Jared Goff, who's ended up being kind of a dud. But one thing that's really not a dud for him is that wide receiver core. Cooper Kupp, Robert Woods, Tyler Higbee, Van Jefferson. And they also, this offseason, by the way, got Deshaun Jackson. I don't know if you remember seeing me post about that, but they went out and they got Deshaun Jackson. Now, I don't know how well this is going to work out. I don't see these guys as big receivers, as big enough receivers. They're a really small knit group that's going to kind of either blow past defenders or just have really good routes, and I think that could be troublesome. Granted, Tyler Higbee's bigger, but I think they do need that tall weapon. Now, Van Jefferson is a little bit taller, gives him that advantage. I know he's over 6 foot, at least, but they need a solid guy who's tall. They need a big guy. Now, here's one scenario for you. Atlanta Falcons did say that Julio Jones, is on the trading block because they don't have the money to afford him anymore. Okay, they went out, signed Matt Ryan. They could not sign Julio Jones. Now they have to get rid of him. I think this would be a very good scenario. I don't know how much money the Rams have. I don't think it's too crazy, but I think they could shake the world up and get rid of a couple pieces, whether that's Robert Woods or Van Jefferson or something like that. You don't know, but I think that's a big possibility that the Rams could go out and get Julio Jones, snag him, and make a run. Because you give Matthew Stafford Julio Jones, that's like giving Matthew Stafford Calvin Johnson without the physicality. You just got that, I'm going to get you about 80 to 100 yards a game mentality. And that's okay, because that's what Matthew Stafford can do. He's going to give you that ball, especially if it's Julio Jones. I think that'd make the most sense. There's a lot of other teams, obviously, that need receiver help. Eagles, even though they went and drafted Jalen Reagor last year and then Devonta Smith this year, I don't think they really need one, but Who knows? You never know. Jalen Reagor kind of did not do that good last year, but at the same time, I think Julio Jones makes a lot of sense going to LA, but we don't know, obviously. And then you look at the Rams defense. Okay, they're stacked with Aaron Donald, Leonard Floyd, who was a Chicago Bear, who was devastating in the NFC North, actually a top tier defender, one of the best defenders in that NFC North now over in the NFC West. West, I think. West or East, one of the two. But then they have, Darius Williams at corner, Jalen Ramsey at corner. They got Jack Jackson, or I can't remember his name for sure, but he went over to the Browns, but they lost him. That was a very good asset that they had. But that defense right now, as of right now, stands pretty solid. They're stacked. They got enough weapons. They have enough go-get-'em kind of attitude. They just fly to the ball, okay? A lot of the reason the Rams actually got a lot of wins last year was mainly because of that defense. That defense, as bad as your offense could perform, that defense is going to hold the offense or the opponent's offense till little or no points. A couple drives. They're going to let up one here and there. Obviously, nobody's going to be perfect, but they're going to keep you in the game, and that's what the Rams have, and that's what the Rams had last year, and they're going to continue to move that forward. Aaron Donald is going to be a Ram for a while. Okay, so that defensive room is really solid. And that offensive group is also really solid. So this could be, honestly, a breakout year for Stafford. We could see Matthew Stafford in an MVP race. Not saying it's going to happen, but we could. Very easily could, especially if he gets a weapon like Julio Jones. He's not going to get hit as much. He has the protection. He has the weapons. He's just got to put the pieces together. And I think he could easily, and I'm talking easily, do something like that. Okay? Now, like I said, I love that this happened, but, we're always looking at, is this a good trade? Is this a good thing that happened? Well, now Matthew Stafford is going into a division where he's going to have to play the Cardinals, 49ers, and Seahawks 2 times. Okay? And he is having to play in a tougher division than he had to play when he was in the NFC North. I don't know how much tougher it's going to be compared to this year, but I know last year and the years before that division of the Cardinals, Rams, Niners, and Seahawks has been known as the best, as the hardest division to play in. So, this is going to be a tough test for Stafford. He might not take a lot of hits, but he has a lot of things he has to watch out for. Defenders. You got the 49ers with Nick Bosa, and what's his name? Solomon Thomas, and all those guys, okay? And Chandler Jones, J.J. Watt. And then you look at, the Seahawks, they don't really have too much, but they got some, okay? The pass rush last year was really not there at all. It was non-existent, and they have to work on that. I'm pretty sure we'll talk about that and probably, I don't know, sometime either this week, next week, whenever the hell we get to it. But he's going to have to play a lot of good teams, okay, 6 times. 6 out of the 17 games he's going to have to play really, 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 really tough opponents. Now, I also think since he's going to do this, he's going to have to take more risks. I don't know how many risks he was able to take with the Lions, being that he was always on his ass every time, but at the same time, I think if he takes more risks, throws that ball, he's gonna be awarded. He's gonna be awarded. Okay, he's gonna get what he wants. He's gonna be successful. Okay, now, like I said, I don't know. By taking risks, he's gonna have to do a lot with those speed receivers, Cooper Kupp and all them. Cooper Kupp is a technician with his feet, gets open. Robert Woods finds the open field most of the time, and then you got Van Jefferson, who kind of played a little bit last year, but for the most part, I think he looked pretty solid. Okay, but then Tyler Higbee, he also had a dud year last year compared to years before that. But I think Tyler Higbee could be a very, very good asset for Matthew Stafford to dump that ball off. We've seen it with T.J. Hockenson. It took him a year to get ready, but last year was all right. So Matthew Stafford knows where and when to put the ball, and he's going to be just fine. Okay, a lot of people kind of look past Matthew Stafford just because he was on the Lions. Don't be mistaken, because this guy is ridiculous on the football field. Okay. Aaron Rodgers went out on the Pat McAfee show and said that we're always talking about Mahomes and that no-look pass. Well, he said that Matthew Stafford has actually he was the first one to really do that, to make it a thing. And then you go look at the film and you're like, holy shit, he's not wrong. Matthew Stafford's been doing it all the time. We just overlook it because he was on such a shitty team. He's going to go to the Rams and he's going to light it up and he's going to be awesome. That's the thing we got to watch. Don't worry about the past. We've seen it with Ryan Tannehill with the Dolphins, and he went to the Tennessee Titans, did his thing, and has been just fine. And I think that's going to be the same situation with Matthew Stafford. He's going to be overlooked, and then all of a sudden, bam, everyone's going to be like, holy God, like, this dude can ball. Like, flat out, go out there and sling the ball. Like, he's very, very good, okay? Now, on the other side of things, what does this mean for Jared Goff? Okay, because we know he went to the Lions. They're looking to rebuild. They got a new coach. He's going to bite your kneecaps off and all that. Did not like that press conference for his professionalism, but I don't care. He's a head coach. He can do what he wants. The organization didn't do anything about it, so guess what? It's fine and dandy to me. Okay, they went out there, and they ended up having to get rid of Matthew Stafford. It's a new, fresh beginning. We're going to start the Motor City right on the right step, and we're going to get it moving in the right direction. Okay, that's what MCDC, Motor City Dan Campbell said. So, now, I don't, I noted this early, I don't think anywhere close to the level that Matthew Stafford is at. At the same time, he's another top 5 pick in the draft, like they have the last 2 years. Last year they went and got Jeff Okudah. This year's draft, they went out and got Jared Goff, and exceptional, the best offensive lineman in the draft in Penny Sewell. So that is going to be very, very crucial to Jared Goff's game. How Penny Sewell actually performs. Okay, if this dude performs like he did in college, Jared Goff probably won't get hit that much. This guy was an absolute force of nature, and it helps Jared Goff out a lot, actually. But I still think he's going to take too many hits from, just from experience watching the Lions play and how they go about their business. He's going to take a lot of pressure and make a lot of mistakes. And that just comes with being with the Lions and playing with that organization. That's just how it is. You're in a really tough division. He just went from a really, really tough division to a really tough division. So he still has kind of the same how do you want to say it? He kind of has the same atmosphere he's going to. Okay, he's gonna have to ball out. That's what he's gonna have to do. And can he do that? We've seen he can do it, but now he just has to show that to us once again that he hasn't lost his step, that he actually can go out there and perform. And I think he can do that. Okay. Now the Lions had a very, very good draft. I'm not pushing that away at all. They had a really good draft. Okay, they boosted their defensive line. They snagged Amon-Ra St. Brown, who, by the way, I think was an absolute steal. We talked about him yesterday. Dude's incredible, okay? Goes up there, gets the ball, and produces. He literally does not make sure. He makes sure the defenders can't get a hand on it, and that's what I liked about him. Now, with that being said, I'm still worried about their weapons, okay? Because their wide receivers are Terrell Williams, Brashad Perryman, who played for the Jets last year, was their number 1 guy, being that Robbie Anderson left. But Brashad, we got some questions. He's good enough, but is he the real deal? I don't think so. They have him listed as the number 2 receiver on their depth chart currently on CBS Sports. So, and then you got Quintez Cephas, who last year did all right. Okay, wasn't really a prominent piece. I'm pretty sure he was a rookie last year, but he was in the offense a little bit. But I do think overall, Amon-Ra St. Brown is going to be, if not the starter, the second guy. Okay, I don't know how he's going to perform. I know he's going to be just fine. When you go look at the running back crew, you got DeAndre Swift, who had a really good second half of the season last year, and you got a new addition of Jamal Williams, who left out of free agency from the Green Bay Packers, who I thought was really, really crucial in their game when Aaron Jones was absent. Even in the passing game, I think he was way better in the passing game than Aaron Jones. In the running game, he showed spurts where he could be better, but he was mainly that filler, that guy that could be an exact replica of Aaron Jones and run at his own speed and, make defenders. These guys, especially with how DeAndre Swift performed the second half of last season, I think these two are starting caliber, okay? And that's what this league is going to. You need 2 starting caliber running backs. We see it with the Browns, Nick Chubb, Kareem Hunt. We see it with the Vikings. You got Dalvin Cook and then Alexander Madison. And then you go look at, there's a whole bunch of other teams that we're seeing starting to stack up with 2 running backs. Tampa Bay did it with Leonard Fournette, Ronald Jones, and LaShawn McCoy last year. Chiefs have had, Damian Williams and then, what's that running back? Clyde Edwards-Helaire. Now, Damian Williams isn't on their team anymore, but they're still, this is what it's going to. Latavius Murray, Alvin Kamara. So I really do like that. They also have a really good tight end, TJ Hawkinson. So I think Jared Goff, in the long run, is going to be fine, depending on, his performance. Can he sling the ball? Can he move the ball downfield? That's what we've seen the Lions have a lot of trouble with in the past years, because they don't have an offensive line that can protect the quarterback long enough to get the ball out. And that means a lot of throwaways, a lot of, quarterback hits, a lot of sacks, and that's where he's going to struggle. It's up to him to overcome that, and I think he has the ability. I'm a little worried, okay, because it is still just the beginning, and there's a lot more football to go around. So, with that being said, we're going to go back to that free agency, okay? The Raiders. What the hell are the Raiders doing? They released damn near everybody's back. LaMarcus Joyner, guard Richie Incognito, who actually ended up re-signing with them. I think there was a contract issue that they let him go and then they brought him back. But then they also traded their Cardinals and a 7th-round pick, only for a 3rd-round pick. And then they also traded the other guard, Gabe Jackson, who started a lot of games, for a 2021 5th-round pick. If you heard all those picks that they just traded that they traded the guys to get those picks, I mean, they did not give a shit about those guys one bit. Okay, they looked at these guys that, all right, yeah, you're not Raider material. Let's get out of here. You're not going to be a Raider no more. And a lot of that has to do with John Gruden. A lot of it has to do with him. I don't know what the hell he's doing. He definitely, in my eyes, probably should have stuck to being on national TV, being a commentator, doing stuff like that, because this dude, granted he has a Super Bowl ring, has no fucking clue what he's doing. He went out there last draft, drafted Henry Ruggs III, before CeeDee Lamb, Jerry Jeudy, Justin Jefferson, Brandon Ayuk, Jalen Reagor, all those guys. Now, not Hunter Henry, Henry Ruggs did just fine. He's going to be a good receiver. He's not a top receiver. He's going to be that Tyreek type of guy. You're not going to get a crap load of production unless you get a quarterback back there that can sling the ball. Derek Carr can do that, but I do think they need a quarterback that can actually throw it a little bit further. Now, they do have to play the Chiefs twice, the Broncos twice, and the Chargers twice, but I don't care. Figure it out. Now, with all these releases, they kind of tried to make up for it a little bit, but, they went out, they signed 2 defensive ends. They got Kendall Vickers and Yannick Ngakoue. We've seen Yannick Ngakoue with the Vikings. When he was with the Vikings, it looked like he was a big issue and was a reason, one of the main reasons that the Vikings probably didn't perform like they should. But who knows about that? It is a team sport. You need all 11 players to be on the same page for something to work, and it probably wasn't. So he went Ravens, did just fine. Now he's with the Raiders. So I like that. I like that Yannick is on there. I think he's going to show that Raider spirit just fine, actually really, really well. But then they go out and they sign a couple safeties, Carl Joseph and Dallin Levert. Defensive tackles, Quentin Jefferson, Solomon Thomas, and Jonathan Hankins. Now, Jonathan Hankins and Solomon Thomas are top tier. Okay, so I think I said Solomon Thomas with the Niners. So, yeah, he's with the Raiders now. But those are some big signings for your defense. They're boosting their defense, getting back to when they had, like, that Khalil Mack. Remember when they got rid of him? That was absolutely stupid. I did see a little bit of logic in it, but I don't see it anymore because they haven't done anything since then. So that makes you really kind of question why did they do that, because Khalil Mack has been a force of nature for the Bears. Now, it could be just Khalil Mack, 'cause they only had one really solid year, but that defense with the Bears is a top 5 defense in the NFL, at least has been in the past. So that is a very, very good thing to do for the Raiders. Boost that defense and get ready, because who knows what your offense is going to be able to do. Yeah, you went out and you got Kenyon Drake from the Cardinals, because I'm pretty sure he was a free agent. So that was pretty good. Then you went out and got John Brown, which I don't know why you'd do that. He's old. Maybe it adds a little depth to your receiving core, so I understand it. And then you go and get Willie Snead. Now, this one I do like, okay? Willie Snead, the fourth time he played for the Ravens last year. And this was a really good signing. I think he's going to bring that Amari Cooper kind of receiver that they needed. Now, Willie Snead is a little bit smaller in weight, I'm pretty sure, but he brings that height, that awareness. He's going to be able to jump a lot higher and go get a lot more balls. And I think that's going to help Derek Carr and the Raiders out a lot. They do have a stacked wide receiver, or not a stacked wide receiver room, but they have a deep wide receiver room, okay? Willie Snead, John Brown, Henry Ruggs, Hunter Renfrow. There's another one I can't really remember off the top of my head, but they have enough guys, okay? And then they go out and they try to make up for that offensive line. They go on to get their center, Nick Martin. They signed him. That was a really good signing. But that was all they really signed in the offseason. They really didn't help out the fact that they got rid of all their offensive linemen. It just blows my mind. Like, Rodney Hudson's a top center in this league. One of the best. You know, Gabe Jackson did just fine last year. You let go of some really, like Richie Incognito, you almost let him slip. Are you kidding me? You can't do that to yourself. At all. You can't get rid of the protection that's been keeping Derek Carr where he is and how he's been performing for this long. Okay, now, another thing to note about Gruden is he is awful at drafting. I've kind of noted that a little bit. Awful at drafting. Now, there was 2 exceptions in this draft. A little bit. One for sure. One kind of iffy one. Now, the iffy one was drafting Alex Leatherwood, who's an offensive tackle from Alabama, in the first round, okay, with their 17th pick. Now, there was a lot of concerns, I think, about this guy. He wasn't one of the top offensive linemen in this draft. So I can see why people are kind of questioning it, and I am too, because you let go of some really, really good pieces, and you're going to go get someone that you're really not sure to replace one of those guys. Now, I'm not a GM, not a coach, I don't know shit, so maybe it was a good move. Maybe they've seen something in those guys that they released that they didn't like and they didn't want no more, so that's, why they're doing it. But the other exception, too, is that the safety. Okay, they drafted the safety in the second round. They didn't really have too good of a defensive back or a secondary on that defense. So they went out and they're like, let's address this. So in the second round, with the 43rd pick, they ended up taking safety from TCU, Trevon Moehrig. Not sure if I said that last name wrong, but anyways, he was a top safety. I'm pretty sure he was one of the top 3, top 5 safeties coming into this draft and going out. So very, very good on that one. But what does that mean for your offense? Okay, I know these guys can do it. Josh Jacobs is a freak at that running back position. Darren Waller's been a freak at the tight end position. But I'm not so sure that they need to do this. I think if they had the possibility, they should have, instead of cutting a lot of those guys and releasing a lot of those guys, they could have probably traded for higher draft picks than what they got. But at the same time, like, I understand what's kind of going on, because if John Gruden doesn't think you're Raider material or doesn't think you're capable of being dogs, I'm telling you. Hey, Nash. Oh my goodness. But anyways, so to kind of go about that, they also in round 3s and 7 Nash. Dogs are crazy. He does this every time, and it's really annoying. Love him to death, but the dude has got to stop. Please, Nash. But anyways, to move on, we're going to talk about that rounds 3 and 7 that the Raiders have. Okay, they go out and get a defensive end, another safety, or 2 safeties, and they get a corner to add depth, and then finally they get this center from Pittsburgh, Jimmy Morrissey. Okay, well, we've seen what he can do. I'm pretty sure, I want to say he was a senior, not 100% sure, but from the film I was seeing, he's able to make a lot of good blocks and do a lot of good things. So that might be a steal for them late in the draft, which is going to be really clutch in the end. So now, however, like I did note a little bit earlier, how this team does have a lot of upside. Okay, it really does depend solely on play calling, because I'm not really sold on the fact that John Gruden can call a really good season or a winning season, if that, and get to the next step, get to a playoff, get to a Super Bowl. I don't really know if he is capable of that. I do think he has to maybe give the play calling out to somebody else, but who knows how that's going to play out. But they do have a lot of upside, okay? Derek Carr, okay, when I was looking at his stats, he barely throws any interceptions. I think his most was, I want to say 18, but he still threw like 40 or 43 touchdowns that year. So that is very good. But if he continues to play like how he has the past 2 seasons, the past 5 seasons, he's going to have a good and solid year. I think he's going to be capable of putting the Raiders in a position to win a lot of ball games. But like I said, it all depends on that wide receiver group and what they are capable of doing and how consistent they can actually be. Now the Raiders, as much as this offseason has been a shit show, I do think they could make some noise. They do have the Chiefs to go through. Broncos, we'll see. Now, Broncos do get Aaron Rodgers. They're going to have a lot of issues against them. But like the Chargers, they're starting to pick it up with Justin Herbert and their crew. And Derwin James will be back after suffering, I think it was a torn ACL last year. So, the Raiders have a lot of upside. And it's going to be kind of interesting to see how that plays out in the future. But, all we can do now is kind of get all curious about. Now, the NFL schedule release, I did talk about this yesterday briefly and how we're going to talk about it today, but you've probably already seen on Instagram, Facebook, and all that you've seen all the opponents for every team, okay? And obviously you only seen the 16 teams at first, and then they went out with a thing on NFL.com, NFL Network, to show those Week 17 games and who they were going to be and who was playing where and what prime time and stuff like that. So, like I did say, they added a 17th game. That's not new. If you have not heard that before, they did add that. And I'm pretty sure the preseason's only 2 games this year, which is awesome. I do think a preseason is needed. 4 games, too much. 2 games, perfect. We said that last year, way in the beginning when we first started this show, Get Your Fix. But, like I said, it's going to be interesting because no team is going to go 500. It's going to be a lot of football. Now, they're going to have only 1 bye week. Kind of interesting. I have heard that they could possibly go to 18 games in the future. Not right now, obviously. It takes a lot of voting and planning to do so. But now, with this, with all the opponents that you see for every team on Instagram and Facebook, they are going to have a schedule release party or a schedule release show, if you will, like they do every year, just kind of get it hyped up, get the fans ready to roll, and get the fans a little too fucking excited for the NFL season to start, even though it doesn't start for another June, July, 3 more months, which is absolutely ridiculous, I believe. Or actually, it's about 4 months. In about 5 days, it'll be away. So, but anyways, that schedule they're gonna do. It's set to release on NFL Network if you have that channel, NFL.com, and the NFL app. So all 3 of those, you'll be able to see the schedule release party depending on like all the plans and stuff. I don't know if you have to pay for stuff and watch. It is what it is. But mainly, it's going to take place next Wednesday on May 12th at 8 p.m. Eastern Time or 7 p.m. Central Time. So be ready for that because it's going to be awesome. It's going to be kind of interesting to see what or where things kind of lay out and how the season's going to go. And what this is really going to consist of is going to be, they're going to talk a lot about division by division analysis, what's going to happen. They're going to probably, look at the ups and downs, probably do like predictions and stuff like that and power rankings. And then they're also going to go break down the top matchups week by week, probably not week by week, but definitely top matchups that are going to happen throughout the seasons as well as those primetime games. They're going to talk about those as well. But now, with that being said, after that show is all done, said and done, we have to wait, like I said, 4 more months. That's a lot of waiting because, my goodness, I'm ready to play, or not ready to play. I guess I am ready to play. I would love to play some football again, but I'm ready to watch some football now, like right now. And I have been, obviously, looking at the, highlights and the film, if you will, game film and all that, but I'm really, really ready. Now, the 2021 NFL kickoff weekend does start Thursday night. I'm assuming it'll be around 6, 7 Central Time like it usually always is, but that's going to be Thursday night, September 9th. That's 4 months, 5 days away. It's a lot of time to wait, but worth the wait as we just seen a really good draft class come out, and a lot of teams kind of switch up their way of doing things. Now, with that also being said, the last regular season game is going to be Sunday, January 9th. Okay, so we got October, November, December, and January. So we have 4 months of football. We have to wait 4 more months, and then so we have 8 months until the end of the season. 4 till the start. But, that's really exciting. It's coming up quick. It's ready to punch us in the mouth with a lot of stories, with a lot of ups and downs, and a lot of, goods and bads. But, hey, that's what we live for. That's the NFL, and that's why this game has survived as long as it has, because it literally connects everyone around this world. And I do think that football is one of the main sports, or not even football in general. I think all sports are really the only thing that, or not really just the only thing, but one of the things that kind of brings everybody together. It doesn't matter your race, the color of your skin. It doesn't matter if you're boy, girl, anything. It doesn't matter. As soon as you're, if you're on the same team as somebody, as soon as they score, you're looking right next to you, high-fiving, hugging, doing whatever you can, having a good time, heckling people, doing all that. That is what sports is about. That's what this football is about. Football is really just bringing everybody together to forget about every issue outside of that event for a couple hours. And I think that's what everybody needs right now, especially with the social unrest here in the United States. And I think once we get back to normalcy, where we can actually have full crowds, where a lot of stadiums are already starting to do that, that's going to help a lot. And it's going to help people, take their mind off things, even though we do still have to hit it right on the nuts and keep driving that force and making sure we can stop all that unrest. So, but, with all that being said, that's all we got for today. And again, if you guys, like I said earlier when we started, if you guys are interested in buying any merch at all, I will set up a poll, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and basically based on your guys' responses, I can, go about setting something up for you guys so that you guys are able to, get your fix, if you will. But like I said, with that being said, thanks for tuning in. We'll see you tomorrow at 6 p.m. Central Time. Like always, Monday through Friday, we're always here for about an hour, a little bit past. Who knows? Maybe we'll go longer sometimes. But for right now, tomorrow, 6 p.m. Central Time, and you just got your fix with the Wicks. Thank you guys for tuning in.